I truly believe that for anyone living with scoliosis, it's not just about staying active with light movements or going for massages or adjustments. It's about strengthening the muscles that support your spine. When you build strength in the right way, it doesn't just reduce discomfort, it can give you more confidence and freedom in your everyday life. Now, here's the problem. For years, every time someone with scoliosis asked me, should I lift weights or should I just stick to walking yoga or massage therapy? I'd always give an answer like this. Well, there are lots of different ways to treat scoliosis. Just find what feels good for you and do that every day. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the right answer. Because for scoliosis, just staying active or getting massages isn't enough. See, these forms of exercise can help a little bit, but they fall short of what really changes your body. You need to build strength in the muscles that support your spine. And that's why today I'm going to break it all down. I'll be explaining why lifting weights can be one of the most powerful tools for scoliosis and what you need to watch out for and how to do it safely so you can feel stronger and more supported, not just in more pain. The reason lifting weights is so powerful is that it directly strengthens the deep spinal stabilizers or core muscles that other activities like walking, yoga, and stretching alone just don't target effectively. Now, put simply, your spine is supported by a network of muscles. When those muscles are weak, more stress is placed onto the spine, which can lead to discomfort and pain. But when you build strength in the right places, it can significantly reduce that strain. Now, this isn't just theory, it's supported by research. Now, back in 2008, a team from the US found that an 8-month program focusing on strengthening the trunk muscles significantly increased strength and helped stabilize curves in adolescents with scoliosis. And more recently, in 2020, a study by a group in China confirmed that core-based exercises can play a beneficial role in reducing the cob angle and improving the quality of life for people with scoliosis. Now, this isn't just for adolescents. The team at Progressive Rehab and Strength has found that barbell training is beneficial for adults, helping them to improve overall health, decrease pain, and even slow spinal curve progression over time. You see, in short, stronger muscles mean less strain on your spine, better posture, and a newfound confidence in your daily life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Isn't lifting weights dangerous? Or why not it make my scoliosis worse? Now, this is a very common and a normal fear. The truth is, the problem isn't with the weights themselves, but with how you use them. The key is to avoid poor form and the wrong exercises. Now, this is especially important when you consider a related concern, which is osteoporosis. Because the majority of people with scoliosis are female, and as they age, bone density loss can become a real issue. Now, the good news is that weight-bearing exercises or exercises that use weights are one of the most effective ways to build and maintain bone density, which can combat osteoporosis. Now, while some studies show a link between scoliosis and low bone density, they can also suggest that strengthening will help increase that bone density. All right, so there are two major red flags I want to watch out for. First, heavy twisting movements, especially under load. In people who are not used to these movements, it can put unnecessary and uneven pressure on your spine. Second, you can actually compress the back if you lift weights too much over your head without using your core in a proper way. See, these types of lifts, they add pressure on your spine, and it can be sometimes in an uncontrolled manner, which is not really what you want. The focus should be on avoiding these potentially harmful movements and prioritizing safe, controlled exercises. So, how do you do that effectively? Well, the first step is to start with controlled, light resistance, or even body weight, and laser focus on your form. This should be your number one priority. Don't rush to lift heavy weights. The goal is to build a strong, stable foundation. Now, if you have not got a history of exercising or doing movements, then learning how to move your body well will be a good first step here. Now, I would recommend finding a trainer or coach to help you with the basic exercises, and that's going to be a fast track to success. So, how can all this help? Well, a meta-analysis, meaning a study where they looked at many studies, published in 2025, looked at various exercise therapies and confirmed the benefits of scoliosis-specific exercises and core stabilization training for reducing key metrics like the cob angle and improving quality of life. So when people ask me where to start, I always suggest starting with their feet, their core, their glutes, their back stabilizers, and do those before progressing to heavier or more complicated movements. Now, I want to show you a couple of beginner-friendly movements here so you can get started. Okay, the first exercise I want to show you is actually a bodyweight exercise. It doesn't involve any weights because I really feel like you have to start from being able to move your own body well. All right, this is a glute exercise to get your glute working, and then we're going to couple that in the next exercise with some weights that will build on this one. All right, all you need is a yoga mat or somewhere to get into an all fours position. I want you to put your feet at your toes pointed together, and then push your shins down into the ground. So try and get this part of your leg down to the ground as much as possible. Then I want you to put tension into your hip muscles by pushing your knees apart on the ground. So my knees are going like this, apart on the ground. What we're going to do here is keep the back relatively flat and then move forwards and backwards. All right, so if we've got tight hips, you might want to round your back like this, but try and resist that urge and just move forwards and backwards. If you get a pinch in the front of your hips, and go up onto your fingertips, or maybe even use a small ledge or something like that to put your hands up onto a small step. Okay, once you've got this movement down and you're not feeling any pinching, and you can feel maybe a little bit of work into your hips and lower back, I want you to bias one side. So you're going to push your hips towards one side and go back. Now, where you push the hips doesn't matter. It could be all the way out, straight out to the side, or it could be backwards and a little bit out to the side. It's wherever you feel the most motion. Now, try not to go too far forwards. That's a common mistake I see people make. I want you to stay back in this area and keep tension in those muscles. You can arch your back a little bit more, and that might bring in more tension into here. So we're looking to do about 1 to 2 minutes in this motion, and you'll start to feel the work build up in here. Now, if you don't feel anything there, you can simply cross your other foot, so this foot here, across the back or onto the heel of this foot, and lift up this knee. Okay, so from the front, I'm just doing this. My knee is no longer on the ground. And as I rock back in here, I've got almost all my weight onto that left side. So 1 to 2 minutes doing that, then change sides and go to the other side, and that will start firing up your glutes for what's to come next. Okay, in this exercise, we're going to work on a movement that you may be familiar with, a lunge, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm starting with a very light weight, just a 5-pound weight here. And I'm not going to use the weight away from my body, so I'm not going to stretch my arm or shoulders. In fact, I'm going to hold it onto my chest. And the reason I do that is it just makes my body feel heavier when I do the movement, puts a little bit more load into my glute. Now, traditionally, people do a lunge by stepping forwards like this, and I find that can hurt people's knees. It doesn't really load the glutes like I want it to. It makes the movement more into the quads and the knee. So what we're going to do is we're going to step backwards, but very, very lightly. So you can see I haven't got much weight on this foot. It's just like a kickstand going backwards, or a small support. All the weight stays on my front foot. So that's the first movement. You're going to step backwards, hold the weight on your chest. Once you've stepped backwards, then I want you to rotate your body and your hips to fire up this glute even more. Pull this glute backwards as you start bending your knee, and keep that spiraling motion going down, down, and down till your knees touch the ground. You may even notice that this foot here comes all the way onto the top of the foot. Then as you come back up, you use all your glutes and quad to do that. So it's spiraling down, spiraling out, spiraling down, spiraling out. Now, some of you may go all the way down to the ground, some of you may not. That's fine, but as long as you're starting this motion, going down and up, and the amount you rotate your upper back will vary between you as well. But if you can get your knee down to the ground and you can rotate your shoulders to 90 degrees, that's fantastic. If you can't, don't worry about it, but that's what you're aiming to do. Do that about 10 to 15 times on one side, and then repeat on the other side. This last exercise is a bit more traditional kind of weightlifting that you may have seen before, because I didn't want to leave you hanging on which weights that you see other people doing in the gym can you do. So I'm going to show you one here. All right, for this one, it's called a bent over row. You need something to support yourself on, so a bench in a gym is good, or in this case, I'm just using a chair. And I'm going to hinge from the hips and bend forward, so I just have one hand down here. Now you notice I've got a weight. It's a little bit heavier than the weight I just used before, so I'm going to be using that. So I'm just going to go down and grab this. My back is not rounded, not super extended, just sort of relatively neutral. There's a slight bend in my knees and the weight's hanging down. Then I'm going to pull the elbow up behind me. And so the emphasis here is elbow behind me and shoulder blade traveling on my back towards the other shoulder blade. So pinching my shoulder blades together. I'm not too worried about where the weight ends up, but if it touches the front of the chest, that's ideal. And the head shouldn't be flexed or shouldn't be too extended. It's relatively neutral. And so this is a more isolated motion, but we are strengthening muscles of the arm and the back. And we're looking to do about 10 to 15 repetitions of those. And you can do that 3 times through, which is a more traditional weight training regime. Okay, so with those 3 exercises, you start by working on your glutes. Then you take that into a more functional movement and really fire up those glutes. And then working on the back muscles with the bent over row. That's going to be a great start to your weight training career. So if this video helped you see why lifting weights can actually support your scoliosis and not hurt it, then I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment below and let me know if you're currently lifting weights, or if you're still on the fence about it.